Welcome to Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. Beautiful Ames, Iowa. Home of this stadium, tools, I guess, and, gardening tools, not the type of, person. That's a word that hasn't really been used in a little while, at least as I can remember. The home team, the Cyclones, come out on the field, and the cheerleaders, and the away team. You know they're the away team because their cheerleaders have to come out at the same time as the football team. That's the type of treatment they get. I don't know anything about either of these teams. Actually, I do know something about this team. The Iowa State Cyclones this year were ranked as high as, I believe, 8th in the country. 8th! And this is the battle for the Cy Hawk Trophy, which I assume is a real thing. Here in NCAA Football 2003 on a little show we call Trophy Hunt. Ah, yes. Iowa State still a member of the Big 12. Iowa still a member of not the Big 12. They're in the Big 10. Have to imagine that's a bizarre dynamic. Because most in-state schools, if there's two of them, there's a University of blank and then a blank state university, that being, Oklahoma, Kansas, Oregon, Washington, all of those. They generally like to be in the same conference. I'm going to turn off Rumble here for a second. Sorry. Or vibration, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of weird how Nintendo was like, no, it's Rumble. That's what we're calling it. Rumble. That's the sound it makes. Why did I pick that play? That's weird. Anyway, I guess we're doing a man play where we blitz now. I guess with Lulb number 41. Rolb, sorry. That is Brad Banks. Maybe? I don't know. Brad Banks played there in 2001. I don't know about 2002. Probably. Not a terrible. He almost won a Heisman. This was a year in which two very high-quality college quarterbacks played at Iowa and Iowa State. Brad Banks and, I could be totally wrong on the Brad Banks front. I know Seneca Wallace played here at one point, or at Iowa State at one point. That was the year where he was there. And that was, I believe 2002 was Iowa State's best shot. Second to best shot. Their best shot was 2005, which was kind of hilariously ruined by a collapse in the fourth quarter at Kansas, which not only lost them the Big 12 North to, like, Colorado or somebody. Oh, I totally jumped him. Anyway, they lost them to Big 12 North title, and Colorado took it and promptly lost by like 70 to Texas. I don't think Iowa State would have fared much better. It just would have been funny to look back like, hey, remember the time Iowa State and Texas played in the Big 12 championship game? Which isn't that funny until you realize how just terrible the Big 12 championship game was for years. Well, I did not control the right guy. Because between, I think, like 1998 and 2000 and the end of the Big 12 championship game, only two Big 12 South schools even played in it of the 6 available. Because it was either Oklahoma or Texas. A&M played in it in 97 and 98, losing one and winning one, losing to Nebraska, then beating Kansas State. Now, at that same whatever, I think 4 of the 6 North schools did overall. This being just Kansas and Iowa State never did. Even though both got close, if Kansas had beaten Missouri in 2007, if Iowa State had beaten Kansas in 2005, they would have both played in at least one championship game. But, to be fair, not every school in the SEC has played in their championship game. Not every school, and they've had it for longer than the Big 12 has. So Vanderbilt still has it. I don't think Mississippi ever has. I don't know that Arkansas ever has. Come to think of it, no, I don't think Arkansas has ever played in the SEC championship game. That's kind of sad to think about. Because when it's like Iowa State and Kansas, it's like, well, of course Iowa State and Kansas, and Baylor's never played. Well, Baylor didn't get good until a couple of years ago. Texas Tech always had terrible luck. Oklahoma State again didn't get good until didn't get good as if this is Street Fighter 4 on like my brain's not thinking fast enough to think of a. I'm not in video game mode, so I can't think of a snobby video game website. We'll go Tumblr, even though it's not a snotty video game website. That's just a snotty website of the regular variety. But hey, there we go. Knocked that one down at the line. Could have been a sack, unfortunately. It did not happen, but, you know, a knockdown, while not just as good, is also good. So, hey. You go from, like, a 10 out of 10 as to what could... Well, not a 10 out of 10. Let's go 8 out of 10, because you could get an interception return or a fumble return for a touchdown. Let's say 8 out of 10 on a typical defensive play. Damn. The tight end is tearing us apart. Tearing up my heart when I'm with that tight end. But when we are apart, I do feel it too. Anyway, back to talking about Iowa State in the Big 12. Their greatest football victories seem to come just as the team that beats the team that had a chance. Particularly, my favorite instance ever, there was a point in 2011 when I was pretty much going to Iowa State. And there wasn't that much of a question. It was probably leading 70% Iowa State, maybe 20% Kansas, 10% Minnesota. When at the end of my college decision, it was like 60% Kansas, 40 Minnesota, and that was like 2013 when I actually made that decision. But at the same time, I was thinking about probably going to Iowa State, and then they beat Oklahoma State, who was like supposed to be a national championship contender. Okay, I don't know what my linebacker's doing. Damn it, tight end. How do I have the same problem with the Xbox controller of accidentally hitting the Y button that I do with the GameCube controller? They're two completely different controllers. Anyway, when they beat Oklahoma State, that was like, shit. You know, because that basically ended Oklahoma State's title hopes. Because they had legitimate title chances. I mean, they didn't really, because they were Oklahoma State. So I mean, I honestly would have guessed it wouldn't have made a difference if they had gone undefeated that year. And it ended up being like Alabama. It was Alabama and Louisiana State in the championship game. Number 1 LSU versus number 2 Alabama, who had already played that year in the quote-unquote game of the century, as people were legitimately calling it, because I mean that's typically something reserved for when an undefeated number 1 plays an undefeated number 2. Such as, you know, when Florida State played Notre Dame in like 1994, those were not only two very good teams, those were supposed to be two of the best teams of the decade of, you know, the century, quote unquote. When the 1971 Nebraska and Oklahoma, those were two of the best teams, just period. And that was supposed to be the thing in 2011 when that happened. I remember I was at some like training event or whatever for, I don't even remember what it was, looking at my phone, and I was like, is the score really 9-6? The score's 9-6. I didn't even want to be at the training thing. I wanted to be at home watching watching the game of the century. I missed the game of the century to go get trained for something that I don't even remember what it was. It was like a big ass retreat too. It was like a sleep-in camp over an entire weekend. It was kind of ridiculous. So I took up the entirety of the first quarter with that, and I'm doing wide receiver shovel. Okay, step 1, never try that, because it never works in games. Trick plays, like, they're not even like trick plays, but plays where you have to be kind of like specific. Oh shit! Owned. Okay. End of the first quarter, we're down 7, but to be fair, Iowa moves at roughly the speed of the Iowa Hawkeyes football team should be expected to. So I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed that we have lost it. Oh, no. That's a hold. Could be a face mask, but it's a hold. That is the worst feeling in all of these games when you're like, this is going to be successful. I can feel it calling in the air tonight. I'm going to win. I'm going to get a first down on this run. And then you see the little thing come up in the top left corner, and you just know. So I'm just going to run with my quarterback, who I believe is Seneca Wallace, who, if you don't remember, played for the Browns and may still play for the Browns, may still be rotting in the eternal hell of Browns' backup quarterback, which is somehow worse than being Browns' starting quarterback. Because, I mean, Browns' starting quarterback, people tend to remember your name. And, I mean, he was a starter at one point. They were like, yeah, Seneca's starting. And I was like, okay, well, who's he? I don't know. Oh, the guy who played at Iowa State, that's right. Okay, he's going to lose this game. And then he did. True to form, true to how most Browns quarterbacks tend to do their work, he definitely lost the game that he was the starting quarterback for. Unfortunately for the Browns, I keep going, just ask coach. I'm sorry, I should actually be trying to call my own plays here, but I'm still just a child, so. Yeah, God, it would suck to be a Browns quarterback. Just because you have so much history, like from now on, like after about 8 years, after about 2010, after nobody really could get it done in Cleveland, that was the whole thing. After Jason Campbell came, or no, not who was it? Derek Anderson. Yeah, Derek Anderson had a pretty decent season in 2007. They won 10 games. They looked like a team that was going to win a bunch of games under their head coach Romeo Crennel. Now, who does that sound like? That sounds exactly like the Kansas City Chiefs of 2011, where they're like, "Oh, dude, next year, 2012, is going to be huge for the Chiefs," and they lost 14 games. Same thing happened to the Browns. I don't know if it was quite that dramatic, but just for whatever reason, Romeo Crennel cannot hold on to a team for more than 1 year. I don't understand why. That's a question he's going to have to answer himself. Thankfully, I am not Mr. Crennel, and he's a fine defensive coordinator. He has proved that undoubtedly. Hey, there we go. That's a touchdown. Oh, that guy, number 45, came from nowhere. I wonder if I look at that replay, 45 will teleport. Yeah, because that wasn't that. Hold on. Sorry. No, it won't. Okay. Sorry. That actually was rendered on the field. Most of these are just kind of cut scenes that are spliced in but don't actually, weren't actually happening in the game with the models. It's the same model. Anyway, that's going to take way too long to explain. You already understand what I mean, undoubtedly. And if you don't, you don't care. Anyway, 81 yards was this drive. 7 points was what it gained me. And I was getting the ball back, and I stopped their tight end. Such is life. Got a wide receiver back there returning kicks. Really unimportant information, but hey, I had to say something, didn't I? Wouldn't want there to be dead air. Wouldn't that be terrible? Back on the topic of the Cleveland Browns quarterback. There was so much pressure on the Browns, though. Because, I mean, if you're a Browns quarterback, your job is basically to resurrect the franchise. Every time the Browns draft a quarterback, he has to be the savior. He can't just be another good guy. Because, I mean, Derek Anderson was probably the last guy who could get away with just being another good guy. Because ever since they let Bernie Kosar go, and they had Tim Couch, who was kind of sucked, but he was okay. Kelly Holcomb, who kind of sucked, but he was okay. The opposite amount of times that Tim Couch did, and they kind of played on the same team, same season, and it kind of worked out together in a weird way. And then they had Jeff Garcia after him. Ken Dorsey at one point. I mean, the names that you recognize these names, but you were like, is that Jeff Garcia in a Browns uniform? I mean, I figured it had to come at some point. That's what's so amazing about Matthew Stafford, is that was how it was in Detroit for such a long time. It's yes, is that Scott Mitchell? God, he's still there? That sort of thing. John Kitna? Really? John Kitna? The fact that it's been 6 years and they've had the same quarterback in Detroit is pretty remarkable, knowing the Lions. Even though people are like, he's not that great, and that's fine. He's that might be absolutely true. He isn't that great of a player. I am willing to say that he is better than a lot of people make him out to be. Matthew Stafford, But to be fair, he's been playing with a very good wide receiver core, and he should have won a playoff game this year. But his team happened to get kind of screwed over on a really what was a worse call than... I'm going to make that statement right here. I think the Lions got screwed more than the Cowboys did. Because you know what? The ball did touch the ground, Des Bryant. I thought it was a catch too. Like, looking at it now, yeah, that should have been a catch. But that was not a pass interference. So I'm going to keep arguing a point from, what was that, January? It's May now. To be fair, I am playing a college football. Why didn't I run the ball more on this set of downs? Shit. Now I will run the ball more on this set of downs. And suddenly my quarterback is very slow. That is surprising. Iowa taking a timeout. That's suspect. You know what's more suspect? Me punting from the 42-yard line, which I'm definitely going to do and not going to fake. Why would I fake the punt? Oh, shit. They're in, like, actual coverage. That's bad. Well, we'll see where this goes. And you know what? Sometimes it works. I don't know if it worked. It worked. You're damn right it worked. Okay, now we just got to get to the line and get a playoff. I want to take the lead in halftime, even though I think I get the ball back. That would be a good way. You get the lead before halftime, then at halftime, or after halftime, whatever that's called, the third quarter, I think. That's when you go for the whatever, the jugular. We'll call it the jugular. My leg has fallen asleep. Cool fact. Inside the NBA over here. So let's see what happens when I go over there with that. And then I will guess this is supposed to be a rollout, but oh god, he's very covered. And so my quarterback will go down. We will take the timeout. And here, it keeps wanting me to go with the run. Which doesn't, because I want to get at least some yards so I can at least kick a field goal. Maybe I'll fake the run. Then they won't see it. Well, that was supposed to be a fake of the pass. Oh god, this game was, man, that was just a good pass. My wide receiver was like, no, I'm not going for that shit, man. Like, I see what you're trying to do, but come on. Let's try to kick a field goal. See how that works. That'll be, that'll just be goddamn peaches and cream over here. Our field goal attempt. Let's maybe call a timeout. And go maybe for, do we have an all streaks? A Hail Mary, perhaps. I don't really need it. I got 10 seconds, so I could, well, actually, nope, no, I got a timeout. So I mean, if it doesn't go to the end zone, I can call a timeout. There we go. We made the catch. We called the timeout. And since we have the lead, I find it smart to just go ahead and kick the field goal. Because why not? They're like lined up as if we're going to fake it. But we're not. Don't worry. We're actually going to kick this ball through these uprights. Assuming it'll go through these uprights. And it does. And we'll do the celebratory flop on the field. I don't know why I do that. I started doing that a really long time ago. And probably back in NCAA, probably Dubs 07. It was the first time you ever heard me refer to this game as Dubs. Sorry. Very sorry about that. Speaking of Dubs, how about them NBA playoffs? These have been a monumentally disappointing first two championship series. Conference championship. Conference final series. There we go. Is anything going to happen? Like, legitimately, are we going to get anything out of these two teams? It is 3-1 in Houston. Remember what happened that last series in Houston? Yeah, they came back from 3-1, didn't they? Yeah, and it was to a California team, too. The important thing to remember, though, it wasn't 3-1 in this series. It was 3-0. And we're going back to Oakland tomorrow night, which is not good if you're the team trying to spring the upset. I feel worse for the Atlanta Hawks because that was a team where I was like, oh, man, look at the Hawks. Look at them go. They only have, their best player is Al Horford, but he's not that, he's not a star. He's just a really good team, basketball team. That's right. The word emphasized is not basketball, it's team. There is no I in team, and there is no I in Atlanta either. There's no W either, as it turns out. Yep. Wow, Seneca's just getting me these yards. I'm gonna get like an angry letter or an angry comment. Nobody sends me letters. Angry comment from the actual quarterback of these two teams saying, "No, we are not Seneca Wallace and Brad Banks. These are just the only two Iowa State quarterbacks you can name," and that would be absolutely true. I can't name another Iowa. I can name Sam B. Richardson, but that's just because I know he's their current quarterback at Iowa State. I couldn't tell you anything about Iowa. Iowa was ranked like number 3 in NCAA football 2006 in the preseason rankings. And I was like, wow. Number 6? Or no, I'm sorry, number 3? Sorry, okay, number 6 would almost be believable. But for Iowa? It was like, what are they doing there? Hey, little buddies. You're up there, you're up with the big boys. With the USCs and the Oklahomas. Texas. You're above Texas. Texas is going to be good. Michigan. And you're little Iowa. Hi. We're Iowa. Go Hawkeyes. We're going to go to the Rose Bowl this year. That's apparently all that really matters to the Big Ten team is going to the Rose Bowl. You know, no Big Ten team went to the... God, okay, that happens all the time. Just, yeah, he's open. Throw it to him. No, hit him in the back. Maybe I just shouldn't throw it to him. Maybe I just shouldn't pass the ball. That could be another thing. I don't think I've thrown a completion since like the first... Okay, now there's the second completion. Anyway, yeah, that was so weird seeing Iowa up there. And then, you know, what do they do with it but squander it? So we have... Okay, this seems like a good sign. Oh, okay, and it immediately becomes a bad sign. That's good, because I don't know how to pitch. Let's go ahead and go back to the halfback. Halfback's been doing okay. Damn, 255 yards already. This has been just an offensive battle between the two Iowa teams. People make fun of us in Kansas for being like self-contained and having our own rivalry. Is like you never get Kansas and Kansas State. And to be fair, you never will, because that's a weird rivalry, what we have. You have a clear case of one school really hates the other, and the other school is like, well, we got these other guys. I mean, we don't like you. We're not going to pretend like we do. But, you know, they're no Mizzou. That's sad. I miss Missouri. I think I state that every time I play a college football game. And the last, like, trophy hunt game will be for the war drum or whatever they called it. That trophy they put in this game that I don't think ever actually existed. Because at one point it was called, like, the Indian war drum. And then that was deemed insensitive, which, oh, wow, that guy totally just missed. Especially, I mean, no, it is insensitive. I'm glad they changed they changed it, apparently, to a bass drum that I just have never seen with my own two eyes, which I presume is somewhere in Columbia, but they may have lost it. I don't know. Maybe somebody lost a drum at some point in the KU Mizzou series. See, I've never seen the Cy-Hawk trophy in real life either. I never see any of these damn trophies in real life. I mean, to be fair, I mean with my own eyes on TV. Sorry, not in the most cases. The KU Mizzou drum would have been in real life with my own eyes. I've seen the Governor's Cup. I know it exists, the Kansas State one, but that's like I've never seen it before. I've seen it on video. I don't know if they still pass it back and forth between each other. There's not much passing. I think it's done. If you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying is we're bad at football. But anyway, yeah, Iowa's got its own like little self-contained thing. Iowa hates Iowa State. Iowa State hates Iowa. I don't know what the consensus is on Northern Iowa or Drake or any of those teams. It's like, what are the other Iowa? There's got to be at least one other Iowa school. Iowa, Iowa State, Drake, Northern Iowa. So probably like a Des Moines college or something. I don't know. Who cares? Iowans do, and the people who go to that one Iowa school unsubscribed. The one that, and I feel like it's big too. It's like in Kansas. People forget about Wichita State all the time. Now they don't. Now people know about Wichita State. Are three pretty big, or three relatively big time schools in Kansas. I don't know about the other one. Oklahoma's got three, and I'm talking three. Oh damn, son, get hit. Oklahoma's got like OU, Oklahoma State, and Tulsa, and I mean Oklahoma City University exists as well. I know somebody went there from my high school. Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I should have added that in. Why am I talking about this? We're so far into the fourth quarter on a game that I'm fairly certain I'm going to win. I didn't even mention I scored a touchdown, didn't I? I was too busy talking about rivalries. No, I mentioned I scored a touchdown. Yeah, I did. Okay. We know I scored one. It has not gone unnoticed. Anyway, I think my point last year, one of my favorite things about this rivalry, though, is that no matter how much better one school is than the other every year, they play it in the beginning of the year. So it always ends up kind of fucking up somebody's season, which I really appreciate. See, Kansas and Kansas State, for the longest time, we also played at the beginning of the year. And it was a bloodbath in K-State's favor for so long, and there was about 3 or 4 years when KU was kind of shifting the tide back, and then we fired Mangino and hired Turner Gill, and Bill Snyder came back, and all that sort of. That should be kick-catch interference. He touched me. Anyway, if you want me to just cry about that, I can. I can do a whole episode of that. Joe cries about KU, K-State. People would probably pay for that. I'd probably show up to my house all dressed in purple windbreakers, like they all do. That's like, anyway. I'm not going to criticize somebody for traveling well, but that was a joke. Anyway, I'm just going to say a bunch until the words come out of my mouth. Last season, for instance, Iowa State went 2-10, and that doesn't even improve. Like, typically when you hear in the Big 12 there's a 2-10, you beat some sort of a Northern Colorado or a Dakota State or a Dakota or a, whatever, somewhere over there. You beat a Northern Illinois, or sorry, Southern Illinois, not Northern Illinois, a Missouri State. There are like 6 Missouri states. You beat one of them, and you get one out-of-conference victory. That didn't even happen for Iowa State last year because they had the pleasure of playing the may as well be in, like, the MAC, or hell, the Big 12, seeing as they've beaten, like, 3 of the 10 Big 12 teams now, North Dakota State, University Bison. Actually, shit. They beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 in the NCAA basketball tournament last year too. They should just be in our stupid conference. They've earned the right. I think you beat enough teams in the conference, you should be able to jump up a level and join. Put them, get Memphis, get Cincinnati. Then we'll have a true championship game. They'll have the one true champion, all that, whatever. I think they're adding a championship game this year. It doesn't matter. I'll never get there, but yeah. I'm just like a self-deprecating joke machine here. I'm really sorry to the fine men who make up our football team. I do respect you. And I do believe that stuff is changing. I just figure the big issue is that all these complaints should be aimed directly, not at the players, but really at primarily Charlie Weiss. And even less Charlie Weiss, just the guy who hired Charlie Weiss. Because Charlie Weiss knows. Charlie Weiss said after he got fired, I'm probably not going to get another job after this. And you know what? He hasn't had another job after that. Because he's not going to get one because he's bad at his job. You burn down a Subway because you work at the Subway. You're not going to get hired by another Subway chain, Charlie Weiss. Anyway, I don't know what happened to Turner Gill. He's like doing well somewhere else. Anyway, Iowa State lost to like North Dakota State. They didn't even get the bye, in Lawrence because we beat them somehow. We beat them like 34-14 or something like that. Why do I remember that score? That's kind of sad. Anyway, but one of the teams they beat in a 2-10 season last year didn't fire their coach was Iowa. They beat the Iowa Hawkeyes, a team that went to a bowl game, I believe at least. A pretty decent team last year, despite the fact that they were very boring and just a pain in the ass to watch. I hate watching Iowa. Especially because they keep beating Minnesota, who has under Jerry Kill become a relatively exciting team to watch. I hate watching Iowa. Alright. Well, this game is effectively over. I'm just going to let it play itself out. You don't really care to see the last 3 minutes. Unless you want to watch me rant about other stuff for however long. I will see you again later. Unless some gigantic comeback comes, and that'll be another video. Just assume that the Cy-Hawk Trophy belongs in Ames, and the championship runs through Ames. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Joe Bush. Have a good night.